was happening in 1951? Winston Churchill became the Prime Minister for the second time. They invented superglue, the VHS recorder, and power steering. But the other thing that happened in 1951 is Toyota gave us the Land Cruiser. And here we are many years later with the latest iteration of Land Cruiser in the most beautiful part of Morocco. We have some incredible roads around here to put this car to the absolute test. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the brand new Toyota Land Cruiser. Time for some proper off-roading, even though we've been doing off-roading pretty much since we left the hotel. And we're going to be able to put the systems to the test in this car. So first things first, I'm going to put it into low ratio four-wheel drive with this selector here. You push it down and pull it back towards you. The car is now in low ratio four-wheel drive. And then I've got two diff lockers, a center diff lock and a rear diff lock. So if I just push and hold center diff lock, the car's now got the center diff locked, and then rear diff lock. Hopefully that's going to lock the rear. Okie doke. And then the final thing, this has a really trick system that I think there's only Ford Bronco has it. It has what they call a stabby bar, but you can disconnect the front stabilizer by just pushing and holding that button there. And what that gives me is about 10% more front axle articulation, which, looking at the stuff we're about to hit, is probably going to be very useful. Let's go. Now, straight away, the car feels very different from having driven it this morning because it's in low ratio, and also it's got the diffs locked, so that always makes a car feel awful. Now, what I would say is I would only suggest locking the diffs if you're doing proper off-roading. Otherwise, you get wind up in the transmission, and that does bad things to transmission systems. We are going to need a diff lock, especially this first rock crawl part. Otherwise, I wouldn't be using it for the rest of the day. Wow. Oh, wowzers. Look at that view. My days. When you come to Morocco to test a four-wheel drive, you kind of expect epic scenery, but that is proper special. Can't actually see where the road's going. Just left and down a bit, left and down a bit, left and down a bit, left and down a bit. Ooh, a little bit of side slip, bit of side slip. Right and down. Wow. Oh my days. it on, right and down a bit. Wow, that was pretty gnarly, to be fair. Right, where are we going now? So the stabby bar, the removal of that front stabilizer bar, disconnects automatically when you hit 30 k's an hour. So, yep, so that's now turned off. I'm still in low ratio and I've still got my diffs locked. But that stabilizer bar thing just gives that extra axle articulation at the front. Really clever system. Now, where am I going? This looks like a really big, gnarly hill. I'm going to put the stabilizer front bar on again, just to give me a little bit of help. That's on, especially this front bit. Here we go. Gas, gas, gas. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's steep. That's really, really steep. One thing to point out, this car is on the tyres it comes out of the factory. They're not kind of off-road specific tyres. They're heavy duty road tyres. And I mean, it's not wet, obviously, it's nice and kind of sandy, but a huge amount of grip. Where are we going here? Look, oh my days. Whoa, and then power out, come on. Yes. This thing's unbelievable. Come on, son. Give it some. Oh. Oh. Wow. Oh my, look at that view. Rock crawl. Let's do this. Rock crawl. This descent looks proper gnarly. It's like driving off the end of the world. Here we go. It's like, so I'm going to do this again in the DAC crawl. So feet, I'm literally just got my feet there. Look. It's quite counterintuitive to go down something so steep without any engagement with the brake at all. But the thing is, when I've done quite a bit of off-roading now, but if you were to come down here in a car without these systems and use the foot brake, you can get in a world of hurts really quite quickly. But the car's just doing everything for me. And if you look at the angle of attack there, that's pretty much 30 degrees downward angle. And the car's just doing it all itself. Very, very clever. Wowzers. You can feel the different wheels braking and just balancing the car. I can just increase the speed up one more to number 4. Still not touch the brakes. Very clever. I think of all the off-road systems I've tried in vehicles, that is right up there for me. And I know for a lot of people, you're never going to use it. But if you are going to be taking one of these into the environment it was designed for, so if you are a farmer, or if you're going on a shoot, or if you're going adventure driving like we are today, when you get to the top of a big descent, that's the kind of thing that you want looking after you. It's very, very clever. I'm in the rock crawl mode on number 3, and that is, I'm now properly. I'm properly cross-axled. Let's get out and have a quick look at this. So I've broken all the rules and stopped halfway through the Dragon's Teeth. But this is just a brilliant way to have a look at the capabilities of this chassis and also the travel of front and rear suspension. This rear left wheel is on full droop, but you can get to see all of the suspension components. We've also got the front stabilization bar disconnected. That gives extra travel at the front. But it's absolutely no problems going over this whatsoever. And in that little crawler mode, I'm not even having to use the throttle. But yeah, I wonder whether... Yeah, it's cross-axled. It's even better around this side as well. And then if I come round this side, so this has got a solid axle at the back. But look at this, oh my days. It's absolutely total extremes of travel. Fully drooped at that side and fully up this side. Amazing, absolutely amazing. This thing, what a machine.
Well done. Thank you.
Epic, absolutely epic. What a car. The scenery has changed yet again. We're now in this beautiful forest, which is more reminiscent of a Welsh forest rally stage on the RAC rally. It's absolutely stunning. So, since 1951, there have been many different iterations of Land Cruiser, and I'm not going to even try and go through all of them right now, but they all derived from military vehicles, much like Jeep with Willys Jeep and series Land Rovers and so on. But the 3 main categories of Land Cruiser were station wagon, heavy duty and light duty. And in the UK, it was the light duty version we tended to see more of, the Land Cruiser Prado. Well, this is the very latest generation of that car. And it's got a striking design, but the engineering underneath. So it's a body-on-chassis design. And the GAF platform that it's based on is 50% more rigid than the previous model. It's got a solid rear axle. It's got lots of things that really make it able to be driven in remote areas like this and not worry too much about computers breaking down or airbags going pop and the suspension not working. It's just got normal springs and dampers, passive suspension. But it's an exceptional looking thing in this environment. So I reckon we go and have a bit more of an explore, and then we need to talk about what's under here. What are the engine options for the new Land Cruiser? Now, I'm going to try this bit in, again, just normal high ratio. This car doesn't have a variable ride height because it's just on passive dampers. But it's just got so much ground clearance. The approach and departure angles are really good. The breakover angle is really good. And we have yet to actually hit any underbody at all. Famous last words. And then we've just got these 2 lovely random people at the side of the road. Bonjour, salut! Bonjour. Enjoying the view and the Land Cruiser. So what's under the bonnet? Well, there's a few different drivetrain options actually, but from the UK point of view, this is what we're getting. So this is a 2.8 litre diesel unit. 205 horsepower and 500 newton meters of torque, and that's coupled through an 8-speed automatic gearbox. Now, in some other markets, there are other variants. There's going to be a mild hybrid diesel. There's even a petrol variant in markets, but we're not getting that in the UK. When we're driving this car, it's got the power. It's certainly got enough torque to pull the skin off a rice pudding and to tow and do all the things you want to do. It's just not maybe the most refined unit, but it is a diesel and not electric, so we should be thankful for that. Now, this wasn't the kind of sand I had envisaged driving on when I came to Morocco. I was thinking of big dunes and so on, but this will do. We're actually at the side of this beautiful lake, but I wanted to just walk around the car and just have a chat about the design and the aesthetics. I think it's a really striking design. I'm not going to use the word utilitarian unless I absolutely have to, but at the front end, I think for me, one of the standout features is this 3-element light with a daytime running light across the top. And the way that sits in, it's a very purposeful front of the car. And then you've got a really nice approach angle. So the whole of this car is built around being really good off-road. And you can see it straight away in its layout and in its design. If we wander around the side, I think there's a lot of cues to some of the older cars, but I was never a big fan of the old Prado. I really like this. I like its angular lines. I like its kind of very structured profile. Big old door mirrors, lovely side steps. It's not too high to get in, which I think is really important. And then if we come all the way around the back, the rear design is really very smart. It's covered in sand. We've been driving most of the day, and I think the car looks better for it. You've got this really lovely big ride height, and it's not a height adjustable car. It's just on passive dampers, as I've said already. But there's so much travel in those wheels and so much ride height. I think that's really smart. We come around the back and just have a look at boot space. We've got all of our gear in the boot, but it is a big old size boot. Now, interestingly, that's as high as it goes. I'm 6'3", and that for me is a head banging risk, especially on this sharp corner here. So I think that could go up a little bit more. But in the back, it's a huge boot. Now, this is the 5-seat variant, but you can opt for a 7-seat model as well. And clearly the 7th-seat or the 6th and 7th seat would go under the boot floor. But it's a very practical car, this. Huge amount of storage. Let's take a quick look inside and see what the passenger space is like. Now, rear passenger space isn't as big as I thought it was going to be. This seat is set for me all the way back as a driver, 6'3", 34-inch inside leg. And it is quite tight in here, and the seats aren't that far off of the floor either, so my feet don't have a great deal of space to go. But it's not too bad, but I expected it to be a little bit bigger. And you've got all the creature comforts in the back of this car. I've got climate control for both rear seat passengers. I've got lots of power sockets. I've got heated and cooled seats in the back. So it's a really nice place to sit. I just expected it to have a bit more room. Up front, first up, we have two 12.5-inch touch screens. But have no fear, we also have lots of real buttons. So all of my climate control are nice real buttons, and they've clearly been designed for off-road in mind because they're well spaced. You've got your heated and vented seats on buttons. You've got some buttons underneath here to change or to turn the front view camera on. And then on this part, by the gear selector, you've got all of your different drive modes, of which there are many. Everyone around here is just so friendly. Now, although this car is absolutely incredible off-road, it still needs to be able to perform on tarmac because the vast majority of users, I'm sure, 95% of their driving is going to be on the road. And it's quite a difficult trick to pull off, to make a car very capable off-road and for it to also have good road manners. A couple of things. Firstly, engine-wise, so the diesel in this it's quick enough, but it doesn't feel, it's not a fast car, and it doesn't feel quite as refined as something like the 3-litre diesel you'd find in the Land Rover Defender or the BMW unit you'd find in the Ineos Grenadier. But it gets you down the road enough, but it's not refined. You can hear it. It's a diesel. You can kind of hear that nice diesel noise. I thought this was going to be tarmac, but oh, here we go. Here's some more tarmac, and we've got a beautiful view over on the right-hand side. Suspension-wise, actually, it's got a fantastic ride on it. It's not too jittery at all. And again, that's a difficult trick to pull off. Oh my days. What a road. It covers the ground. It deals with lumps and bumps and just the general imperfections of a tarmac road really, really nicely. And the steering, it has a really nice feel to the steering. I've got this massive Moroccan lorry coming towards me, so I'm going to maybe just pull over on the right-hand side of the road here and let him go past, because he's bigger than me, basically. So steering feel actually is pretty good. And if you compare that with the Ineos Grenadier for me, because the steering is so off-road focused, it's a terrible car to drive on the road. The steering doesn't center, it's very fidgety. You get none of that in this. So I find it, as a road car, considering the price point, it's considerably cheaper than both Defender and Grenadier, and it's a proper bit of off-road kit. It's a very, very competent road car. Racing the sun. I want to get to the river crossing before the sun goes down for golden hour to get some cool shots of the car. But we're up against it. We've been up against it all day. We've had such an incredible journey. We've done, 300 or so kilometers of off-road driving, but we need to get to the river crossing before the sun goes down. I may well be racing the sun, but there's no racing up this ravine. It's super narrow, but what a bit of road. Absolutely incredible. Morocco has just blown me away. But every now and again you get a real gem like this, and there's a crash barrier on the right-hand side. But you don't really want to be going through it because it looks like a big drop into a lake, basically. I made it. The sun is just going down behind the mountain behind me, and we're at this beautiful ravine. I don't really know where to start summing up today. Today's been about the car. It's been about putting it through its paces, but for me it's been far more than that. It's been exploring and adventuring around Morocco, an amazing country. We have seen so many changes of landscape. We've been through forests and seen monkeys in the trees. We've been through villages and seen happy shepherds waving at us. Everyone is so friendly here. Every time you go past someone, we say bonjour and they'll say bonjour back. People riding donkeys and ponies, and it's just been an incredible day, an incredible scenery, and a day I won't forget, that's for sure. But it's about the car. My final thoughts on Land Cruiser. It's a very, very capable car, and a very impressive car. I think on tarmac, on a normal road, it's got very good road manners. It steers very well. The suspension setup is really very clever considering what it can do off-road. I think the engine's a bit diesely and lacking in power in some scenarios, and it's not the fastest of cars in the world, but then this car's not about that. But when you get the chance to take it off-road, it is very impressive. It's got some very novel and interesting features. The ability to disconnect the front anti-roll bar means you've got so much more axle articulation. The beam axle at the back, the passive dampers work so well. And then the downhill cruise control, I know that's not what it's called, but from now on I'm going to call it that. It's a brilliant feature. The ability just on the twist of a button to speed up or slow down when you're coming down some really steep descents. Fantastic fun and very, very useful. So yeah, all in all, a big thumbs up. Pricing in the UK is going to be from around £50,000 to up to about £65,000. The biggest problem this car has in the UK is getting one, because dealers don't have huge allocations. I think dealers have maybe a couple per dealership. So they are all sold out and they're very difficult to get hold of. Hopefully that may well improve going forward. But if you've got your name down for one of these, then you are very lucky, because it's a brilliant car. And if you're putting it up against something like a Defender or an Ineos Grenadier or a G-Wagon, it stacks up brilliantly. And when you consider the price point as well, it's a fantastic car. The last thing I want to do, however, is I want to thank Alex, the guy behind the camera right now. His creativity and magic have made today. It's been an absolute giggle sharing the car with him today. And hopefully we've made something very special. It's a little bit more than just a car review. We really wanted to capture the essence of Morocco in this beautiful landscape that we're in. And hopefully we've done that. But AJ, you are a superstar. Thank you very much, my friend. And massive thanks to Toyota as well for allowing me to bring a cameraman and make such a cool film. But yes, we've still got quite a way to drive back to our hotel, but I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe.